This is how Stephen Miller gets things done for the Republican administration. He got family separation implemented by relentlessly subverting the chain of command using the repetition of demands, exhausting his targets, and by seeking punishment for those who didn't cooperate with him. Typically, a policy like family separation goes through a vetting process to prevent the very catastrophe seen with family separation, or what is known to be the consequence if mass deportations are implemented. But these aren't typical times, and Miller plays by his own rules. Miller came to the White House as a leader of an anti-immigration team of hawks, including a former ICE attorney and general counsel to Senator Sessions, Gene Hamilton. To avoid the scrutiny of lawyers and experts, they signed non-disclosure agreements and met in secret to discuss their plans. Miller phoned DHS staff day and night, barraging them with demands and bullying career bureaucrats into compliance. They struggled to fully implement child separation nationwide through the shuffle of leadership at DHS under John Kelly as well as his successor, Elaine Duke. Rather than continue to argue with the acting DHS secretary, the White House hawks started looking for a replacement. Per the recommendation of President Trump's chief of staff and former head of DHS, John Kelly, Trump appointed Kirstjen Nielsen, a moderate, to replace Elaine Duke as the new leader of Homeland Security. As a result, Gene Hamilton left the White House to work for his former boss, Jeff Sessions, at the Justice Department, thinking he could have more of an impact on aggressive immigration restrictions from there. Miller would stay and force DHS off a cliff with Nielsen at the wheel. "There are plenty of us here who will do these things and sleep at night," said John Zadrozny, a member of Stephen Miller's White House policy team. "The people in power who did nothing to stop those things assumed that someone else in some other department must be on top of the problem, and stood by in an administration where being labeled a rhino or a squish, nicknames for those deemed insufficiently conservative, could end their career." Miller's new colleagues were viewed as closeted liberals until proved otherwise. When Kirstjen Nielsen was confirmed as the head of DHS, she frequently found herself listening to him rant after midnight. When she defied him, he would print out articles by a few choice immigration reporters at right-wing outlets, articles that may have been produced at Miller's request, and leave them on the president's desk saying that they were evidence that Nielsen was a bad leader. Soon Nielsen was being summoned to the West Wing for even more frequent, sometimes daily meetings about what to do. The discussions consisted mostly of Miller ranting about how the ideas he'd been pitching for months had needlessly stalled. He often told people that if they tried to work through the system that they would get pushback, so it was really important for that person to just go around the system and do it themselves and circumvent the chain of command. Under the traditional chain of command, only a department's senior leadership had direct contact with the White House. Now random employees throughout DHS were speaking directly with Miller and his team, who would then claim to have buy-in for their ideas, quote-unquote, from DHS. Nielsen eventually caved to Miller. She believed the situation was becoming untenable, with Trump becoming increasingly unhinged about the border crisis and making unreasonable and even impossible requests. She tried blaming Congress for family separation and took her forced resignation as a relief.